You crack an egg into a pan this morning. You don't think about it. You never do. But stop for 1 second and actually look at what's in your hand. That egg is a single cell, engineered by millions of years of evolution to become a living, breathing animal. A complete package of nutrients and instructions for life. So why does one species' version of that sit in your fridge every week, while almost every other animal's version never comes near your plate? Humans eat over 1 trillion chicken eggs every year. That's more than 150 eggs for every person alive, from a single species of bird. Meanwhile, there are roughly 10,000 species of birds on Earth. Add reptiles, fish, amphibians, and insects, and nearly all of them lay eggs too. Almost none of them ever reach a table. Here's the part that changes how you'll see breakfast forever. The chicken didn't win because its eggs are special. It won because of a chain of accidents that had nothing to do with taste. Start with the animal that almost made it. Quail eggs. Tiny, speckled, sold in tins across Asia and parts of Europe. Same bird family as the chicken, same basic structure, just smaller. Once a culture accepts one bird's egg as food, a closely related bird slides in right behind it. No resistance, no disgust. Duck eggs work the same way. Richer yolk, thicker shell, but close enough that most people never even question it. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable. In the Philippines, Vietnam, and Cambodia, one of the most popular street foods on Earth is balut, a fertilized duck egg incubated for weeks, boiled, eaten with the embryo still inside. Millions of people eat this the way you'd eat a boiled egg on your commute. To a Western eye, that sentence alone triggers real disgust. But structurally, it's the same egg you had this morning, just caught a few days later in development. Psychologist Paul Rozin spent decades studying exactly this reaction, and what he found should unsettle you a little. Most disgust isn't instinct at all. It's a learned association, installed after birth. Balut doesn't disgust people because it's more dangerous. It disgusts the people who weren't raised eating it, and does nothing to the people who were. Same biology. Two completely different reactions. The egg never changed. Your upbringing did. Push further, and the pattern breaks entirely. Fish eggs aren't hidden or fringe. They're eaten openly, proudly, everywhere. Caviar from sturgeon sells for thousands of dollars a pound. Salmon roe sits on sushi counters in every major city. Fish are about as evolutionarily distant from mammals as vertebrates get, and their eggs are treated as luxury. So the barrier was never really about distance on the tree of life. Why not reptiles, then? Sea turtle eggs used to be eaten across Central America and Southeast Asia, harvested straight off nesting beaches. Then, turtle populations collapsed. Nearly every sea turtle species on Earth is now endangered, and harvesting their eggs is illegal almost everywhere. That food didn't vanish because people got disgusted. It vanished because conservation law erased it almost overnight. Meanwhile, in northern Australia, saltwater crocodile eggs are still legally harvested under regulated quotas. And people who've eaten both say they taste closer to a rich duck egg than anything you'd expect from a reptile. The eggs were never the problem. Access was. Amphibians barely register at all, and this time there's an actual biological reason. Frog eggs are mostly water and jelly, almost no calories. Many species coat them in mild toxins specifically to stop something like this from happening. Evolution built a direct defense, and it worked. One of the only cases on this list where the animal actually fought back and won. Insects lay eggs too. In central Mexico, ant larvae and eggs are harvested and sold as Escamoles, a delicacy eaten since before the Aztec Empire existed. Most people outside that region have never even heard the word. Not because it's unsafe, not because it's disgusting to the people who eat it. Just because the tradition around it never spread the way industrial chicken farming eventually did. And here's a layer almost nobody talks about, one tangled up with one of the worst extinctions humans ever caused. In the 1800s, passenger pigeons numbered in the billions across North America. Their eggs were harvested by the wagon load and sold cheap in city markets. Within a few decades of unregulated collection, the species collapsed completely. The last one, a bird named Martha, died alone in captivity in 1914. That collapse led directly to the Migratory Bird Treaty Act of 1918, a law making it illegal in the United States to collect wild bird eggs without a federal permit. Similar protections now exist across most of the world. An entire category of eggs isn't off the menu because it's disgusting. It's off the menu because the last time humans treated wild eggs as unlimited, a species vanished inside one human lifetime. Religion layered its own rules on top. Kosher law only permits eggs from birds considered kosher, and even then, an egg with a visible blood spot in the yolk gets discarded, because that spot is treated as evidence life had already begun. Islamic dietary guidelines carry similar restrictions. These rules were written thousands of years before anyone understood embryology, and they're still quietly shaping your supermarket shelf today. Then, there's the layer installed inside you before you could even remember it. Childhood imprinting is one of the strongest predictors of adult food acceptance ever measured. Research on food neophobia shows the window for accepting a new food without disgust closes somewhere around age 2 or 3. A child raised around balut grows into an adult who feels nothing eating it. A child who only ever sees eggs in a carton grows into an adult who recoils at a duck embryo. Nobody is born disgusted by a fertilized egg. That reaction gets installed later, and once it's in, it rarely comes out. Which brings us to the real answer, and it has almost nothing to do with taste. It comes down to how absurdly productive the chicken became. A wild bird lays 10 to 20 eggs a year. Modern hens descended from the red jungle fowl of Southeast Asia lay around 300. That number isn't natural. It was engineered generation after generation through relentless selective breeding. Ducks max out around 150 to 200 a year even under intensive farming. Once chickens could produce that volume, cheaply and reliably, there was no economic reason left to industrialize any other bird's eggs at scale. The market didn't pick the tastiest egg. It picked the most productive animal, and every food culture on Earth quietly built itself around whatever that animal happened to be. Modern hygiene and vaccination sealed the deal. Chicken eggs became one of the most tightly regulated food products on the planet simply because a century of farming infrastructure was built specifically around them. Wild eggs, reptile eggs, amphibian eggs, they carry unpredictable risks only because nobody ever bothered to build that same infrastructure for them. So here's the honest answer. Almost every egg on this planet is technically edible right now. Chicken eggs aren't uniquely safe, uniquely nutritious, or uniquely delicious compared to a duck egg, a quail egg, even a crocodile egg. What actually decided the entire menu was a few thousand years of selective breeding on one jungle fowl, combined with whatever a person happened to grow up eating and nothing more than that. The line between breakfast and disgusting was never drawn by biology. It was drawn by whichever animal your ancestors happened to domesticate first, and every generation since has quietly inherited that boundary without ever asking where it came from. So the next time you crack an egg into a pan, remember this. You're not eating the safest one. You're not eating the best one. You're eating the one your ancestors happened to pick first.